Ms. Bruning, should we do a roll call vote to ensure that we have our quorum, or can we move on? Let's see. Guess it's not necessary. If I look on here, I see that everybody's present. Okay, Ms. Finner, we are now on agenda item number 6, which is the report of the executive officer. Could you please give your presentation? Mrs. O'Neill, can anybody hear me currently? If you can, I would appreciate a hand raised. You can.
Davina, this
perfect.
is Yvonne. Typically, in this setting, when you have a break, when you come back, you reestablish a quorum just so that you know that everyone's back.
That's what I was thinking. So, Ms. Bruning, could you please establish a quorum?
Thank you. Ms. Hurt?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill? We'll come back. Ms. Lisinski?
Yes.
Ms. Nocella?
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Thank you. Quorum reached.
Thank you very much. Ms. Finner, if you could please proceed with agenda item 6.
So thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start off my report by announcing some late breaking news that we have received confirmation from the Speaker's office that our chair, Davina Hurt, has been reappointed for a 4-year position. So we welcome you back and thank you for keeping us with a full quorum.
Thank you.
And that, going back to usual business, we have the CRB budget report, which is on page 29. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't see any hands raised on our budget report.
Going to the Transcript Reimbursement Fund, if we look at page 30, you'll see the, getting feedback, the overall Court Reporters Board Fund. If you go down to the months in reserve, you'll see that we have 6.2 months projected at the beginning of 21-22. So what that means in TRF language is that we would be able to make a transfer to the TRF and reopen it without dropping below the 6 months. Because it is relatively close to the 6-month threshold, I would recommend that the board wait until it gets the final budget numbers from the close of this year, which is 2021, sorry.
Okay.
Once we get the final, then we can do, if we are indeed with 6 months, we can make a transfer or a partial transfer. It's possible that we wouldn't have the full 300,000 to transfer, and it would just be 100,000.
Okay, thank you. Do board members have any comments or any response to the proposal that our EO has put before us? This board has worked really hard to just spend what we need to, and we've been disciplined, and now we've brought ourselves, after the few years back of miscalculations by the Budget's office, back to a place where the TRF can begin to run. And I think it's prudent that we wait until we get a final budget number, so we're not in the place we were before. And then once receiving those numbers, distribute what we have. There is a thought that if we don't have the full amount, we shouldn't open it, but my feeling is we should open whatever is available, especially in light of the crisis. Do we need to make a motion, Ms. Finner, or is it enough to just give you
No.
instructions?
Yeah, I have direction from the board. And just so the board is fully aware, I'm expecting the final numbers for the close sometime around September. So it will be later this fall.
Okay. So I agree with the proposal. I just want to make sure that this is also the pleasure of the board. Are other folks in agreement with this proposal? If you could raise your hand, that would be a huge help. Okay, I've got 2 members through. Okay, we've got a majority, so you have direction from the board, and I think now we have everyone in support.
Perfect. Moving on to 6.3, which are the enforcement activities. You have our usual enforcement statistics report before you. Happy to answer any questions. There's nothing unusual trend-wise.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised. You can move on.
Okay, on the exam update, we do have the most current historical statistics on the license exam. Because of the COVID situation, I did want to bring the board up to date on where we are with the skills exam. Our next skills exam is scheduled for July. And while the hotel is open, they are not doing meetings yet, as there's still a prohibition from gatherings over 10. So we don't have to make a final decision on that particular exam going forward until probably the 1st of June. But just
right around the corner.
It is right around the corner. We have noticed that things are changing very rapidly, and so I don't want to completely rule it out before we have to. But I also did want to bring up to the board that possibly they would want to consider the online, either in addition to or instead of. I would just like to go through quickly and say I believe that we can offer the on-site within the safety measures that have been offered to us. I believe we can keep the 6-foot distance. I believe we can do masks. It's probable that we would videotape or do some sort of remote transmission of the reading, because we wouldn't be able to keep the readers 6 feet apart, and we would not expect the candidates to take them down while having a mask on. So there would be some changes that would be different, but I believe we could do it safely. But we also have an alternative.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we do have an alternative on doing an online test. It doesn't follow the recommendations that the online testing committee had wanted it to be a gradual switch over, but in light of where we are, it may be something is better than nothing. So I just wanted to throw that back out to the board. I did reach out to our testing vendor, and we are able to make the test happen. Obviously, the sooner we make that decision, the more likely we are to have access to proctors. Our exam, like all of the other exams across the country right now, are proctored by live proctoring service. And so there is a huge demand for that right now as education has moved all online. And so that's just the only consideration that I would put out for the board if they decide to go that direction.
Okay. Do we have any applicants or candidates that have sent their information in for this test yet? And if so, how many?
Yes, I don't know how many, but it's early on. I believe that the deadline is the 10th of June.
Okay.
And we typically would get people fairly last minute. That's when they have to be postmarked. And that the bulk come in very.
I see.
Of course, if we announce that something was going to go forward, they may come in quicker.
Okay. I see Board Member Lozinski's hand up.
Well, okay. I happen to live in a county where we have a state university that is all online classes. There are no in-person classes. I live in a place where we would not be able to have that kind of testing, I don't believe. And I, for one, would be very hesitant to put people in that position. They not only is there an issue of the on-site, it's getting people there. There are not going to be any restaurant services. There are a lot of no's to having this in person. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. This is exactly the discussion we're supposed to have at this moment. So thank you for those comments. Board Member Sunkeys?
Yes, I would add to what Ms. Lozinski just said, that our people might be afraid to even put themselves in that situation. I'd hate to have potential California CSRs be afraid to come out and take the test, or feel like they're endangering themselves and or their families. I say I'm in favor of moving to online.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Sunkeys. Board Member O'Neill?
Yes. Definitely no on-site test. I am making the assumption that basically, as far as the online test, it is ready to go. It's just a matter of when we can get the proctors available. That's a question.
Ms. Spinner, thank you. Yes, Ms. Spinner, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, so we do have to record the tests. We have tests in the test bank. They have to be recorded, then submitted to the vendor, and then we have to reserve the proctors.
Okay, so basically,
Okay,
we're
Board
not
Member O'Neill?
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, we can be up and running. It's just a matter of we don't know yet when the test actually can be. That's sort of in limbo.
Ms. Spinner?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
It's my understanding that basically we are ready to go. It's except for the fact that we just need to wait to find out when the proctors would be available to proctor the test.
So we would have to record the tests.
Yeah.
Once we record the tests and submit them to the vendor, then we would let the candidates know that the test will be available. I'm saying, for example, for these 3 days. And then we would want, the sooner we do that, then the more time the candidates have to schedule a proctor during that time. But we can't really pre-reserve proctors, but we can let them know that the test is going forward and that we're expecting, for example, 100 people to be calling for proctors within this time frame. But we don't arrange for the proctors. The candidate does that. They basically reserve a proctor for a particular time frame.
Okay.
So they do that independently, and so they can't put aside, let's say, 100 proctors if we know on particular days when folks will be needed, it sounds like.
So they could have done that 6 months ago, but right now that all of education has gone online, there's a huge demand.
Sure. Okay. I see Board Member Nocella's hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with a lot of what my colleagues were saying. I think if we have the ability to accommodate it online, it just makes sense. And by the way, I think this could set a precedent for, potential permanent changes down the road, because I think a lot of businesses and a lot of organizations are looking at some of these ways to accommodate them and make permanent changes down the road. I do agree with what Board Member Sunsky said, where we're going to have some folks coming in to take the test, and the anxiety, the stress, I think that could override and potentially detract and impair their ability to do well on the test. So we clearly don't want that. We want as much success as possible. And I also worry about potential liability of the state, right? Someone coming in, sitting down, having a test in person, and then, any potential claim, a lawsuit that they may file against the state saying that they got COVID during the test. So if that were the case, if we were going to go in person, we'd have to have people sign waivers, I think. But I'm fully supportive of online.
Thank you, board member. I agree with all my fellow board members. I think it's early days, and to expect to come in and do well, a candidate, it's under so many additional stressors that I don't think it's prudent, and liability wise, not a smart step at all. I agree this is an opportunity that we can take to the difference between no test versus an online test, and I would prefer for there to be the option of an online test. So I see board member Sunkey's hand up.
Do you need a motion?
Maybe. Give me 1 second. I see one more hand. Board member Nocella. Okay, hand.
Sorry, it remained up from last time. I apologize.
Oh, okay. No problem. Okay, so I will now take this to our EO. Do you have an answer for board member Sunkey's?
Yes, I just did want to point out that there would be a couple of changes, and they're abrupt changes, but I just want to put that out into the public forum as quickly as possible. This would mean that we would be either interrupting or stopping the pilot project that offers 2 tests, the court and the depot at the same sitting. That would not be able to happen because it's too long of a period, and for the proctoring, we can't have a candidate leave the room and come back in for a comfort break or any other reason. So I want to make it clear that it would be 1 test that would be offered, and the transcription time would be 2.5 hours, not 3.
Okay, my view is we're under extraordinary circumstances, and again, it's the difference between not having it at all and having an opportunity to pass the test online with a few different changes. We all look forward to getting back to quote unquote some norm, but I think this is a way to still give people opportunities to get into the workforce.
I agree, and we can work with people that have submitted applications and don't want to move to that online. If they want to delay and see what happens in November, we can hold over application fees, or we can send them back.
Okay, so do you need a motion, or I think the board member is pretty much on the same line of thinking, which is no on-site testing and online testing with the changes that need to be done.
Yes, if you could do a motion and then do public comment, that would be great.
Excellent. So would someone like to make a motion? Okay. Oh, all 3 hands popped up at once. 4 hands. So board member Lazinski, you've actually taken your mic off. So would you like to make a motion? If you could unmute yourself, and then we can hear the motion you're providing.
I move that we make the next test online, and we do not offer the on-site test, and the online test will have to have the modifications that were outlined.
Thank you, board member Lazinski. Can we have a second?
This is Tony. I would second that motion.
Thank you for the second. Further discussion by any of the board members? I don't see any hands up. Board member Lazinski, your hand is up. Would you like to add anything or say anything with regards to the motion you've put forward? Okay, hand down. And so now I'll move to public comments on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel, and The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment" in the Ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A panel, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom middle of your screen or click on the 3 dots.
Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay. I don't see any public comments. I'll give a couple of minutes. So we have a motion, a second. We've had further discussion. I don't see any public comments, and so we'll move to a roll call vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski,
Yes.
Ms. Nocella,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Sunkis,
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, board. I think that's a decent outcome from the crisis that we're under and what we're facing with this. Ms. Spinner?
I would just point out that the spring edition of the newsletter was published, and we've had good response to it. We're always looking for ideas. We'll be starting work on the fall edition shortly. So if anybody has ideas, as I know Ms. Matthias had mentioned something earlier, if you can email those into either myself or Paula Bruning, that will help us address issues that are important to the industry. Moving on to the business modernization, due to budget considerations, we have opted out of being in cohort 2. But we have been working with some sister agencies within DCA that will allow us to accept credit card payments for license renewals. So I know we've been saying this for a long time, but we truly are very close. There was a slight delay as we lost a vendor and it had to be replaced. But they're actually looking at review and starting beta testing within the next couple of days. So we are close. And then just very briefly on some of the changes that the board has undergone due to the COVID-19 situation. We've had a lot of changes to our business as usual. We had schools closed, we had businesses closed, we had the stay-at-home issues. And I just really wanted to take time to thank the director of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Kim Kirchmeyer, for recognizing the importance of sharing the information from the governor's office, as well as Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency with the boards and the bureaus. We were informed on changes as they were happening, and since decisions are only as good as the information used in making them, we've been able to have that up-to-date information every step of the way. We've been supported and encouraged by other DCA offices, the Office of Information Services, because we were encouraged to do so much telework. They just snapped into immediate action, got people on secure and encrypted websites and access to our full servers, making it so seamless to go home and work from home that Jason Piccioni headed that up, and it was nothing short of amazing how quickly they were able to do that. Additionally, there were so many changes with the difficulties in childcare. Nicole Lee, who is our Deputy Director of Human Resources, made herself available to answer questions coming, I'm sure, from all sides on specific things that were happening for our board as well as other boards. I just wanted to take time to recognize that, because a lot of times the board is pointing out on the budget how much we pay for pro rata. This is a time when we were able to actually take advantage of a lot of services, and it's made a huge difference to our board. It's allowed us to keep the CRB office open during regular office hours from 8 to 5. We've had the ability to do that by adding flexibility to staff schedules. Complaints continue to be processed, licenses continue to be renewed, test results from the March exam were distributed, and new licenses were issued. So while we might not be on the front line of the healthcare field, I'm really proud of how staff has stepped up and really shined despite having to take care of their families and their homes and all the stress that comes from such overwhelming changes to our daily routines. It's hard to work when you're scared, but the women that I work with have pulled it off admirably. In addition, the Judicial Council has issued a variety of emergency orders, and some that have affected the ability of court reporters to perform their jobs remotely. The board has added a link to our website to help licensees and litigants track the changes to their individual counties. We've added a general COVID-19 information banner to our homepage that links consumers and licensees to the latest information and executive orders pertaining to the outbreak. So as we move into our next stage, board staff will be working at ways of making sure that we continue to offer the same level of service while keeping staff, their families, and members of the public safe. And Madam Chair, that would conclude my report to the board.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to extend a thanks to our staff and to you, Ms. Fenner, for working through this pandemic. You all have done an amazing job with keeping the office open, responding to emails, my emails, people's calls under a very stressful, difficult time. Some folks have been teleworking. These are all very amazing things that you are doing and sacrificing to keep this board going and supporting consumers here in California. Are there any additional comments or questions from the board before we take public comment on all of the report of the executive officer? Okay, I see Board Member Lozinski's hand, please.
I only want to add my thanks to the staff. You all have done such a fabulous job of keeping everything going, and it has not been easy. But you have all done so well with what you have, and you've done it with grace and a lot of caring, and I do appreciate it. Thank you for your time and your effort.
Thank you, Board Member Lozinski. All right, do we have any public comments on this agenda item number 6, the report of the executive officer?
Madam Chair, I've just opened the Q&A panel. If you have a comment you would like to make, please type, I would like to make a public comment, and send that to all panelists. The Q&A panel should be showing in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you do not see it, please click on the question mark within a square in the middle bottom of your screen, or click on the 3 dots. And I do see a couple of comments. So Charlotte Mathias is the first one. Charlotte, I will let you know when I've unmuted you. Charlotte,
Welcome,
you've been
Ms. Mathias.
unmuted.
Hello, Charlotte Mathias, CSR 9792. So I have a question, and it might be for Yvonne, of course. And on the funding for the Transcript Reimbursement Fund, is that only from California CSRs that are funding this? And if so, why? It really does seem to be something for the indigent and people that can't afford transcripts in court. So I'm wondering why the state bar is not putting in, or are they? Maybe I'm mistaken. So that's my question for you, Yvonne, and I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next public comment?
That would be from Mike Hensley. Mike, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Mike, you've been unmuted.
Hello, thank you for hearing from me again. In the recent newsletter, the CRB fielded questions from the membership regarding to issues surrounding the use of parentheticals and or certification related to what were referred to as audio proceedings. And CCRA would encourage the CRB, if possible, to draft a document, a letter, an opinion, something of that nature to help clarify those practices in the context of video conference remote depositions. Since we are noticing in the field, there is some discrepancy in terms of how certificates should be handled when all parties are present remotely and if there is any issue with the ability to hear through such platforms. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comments. Are there any additional comments?
Madam Chair, there are no additional comments.
Thank you very much. Just take this down and see if there are any additional comments from the board members. I don't see any. And Ms. Finner, any answers right now to the questions that have been posed that you can provide, or will you need to get back to them?
The Transcript Reimbursement Fund is funded from court reporting licensing fees. It comes out of the court reporter's overall budget. And Mike, if you could do me a favor and email the request that you gave us, it's easier for us to have it and respond when it's in writing.
Thank you, Ms. Finner. All right, I'm going to move on now to public agenda item, Department of Consumer Affairs update. This is agenda item number 7. This is an informational. There's a written update attached. Ms. Finner, do we have anybody from DCA that would like to go into detail about this letter?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right, then, unless there are questions or any thoughts or comments by the board, I'll move on to public comments to see if there are any public comments on this agenda item 7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field and send it to all panelists.
Any public comments?
I am not seeing any.
Okay, so then we will move along. As I said, this is informational, and you have information of the things that are happening at the Department of Consumer Affairs as it relates to COVID-19. Agenda item number 8 is a resolution for Elizabeth Lizinski. How long has it been, Board Member Lizinski?
Oh, I started in 2007. When I came on board, Yvonne and Tony were on the board, and so I really want to thank them. I mean, they have been with me since the beginning, and do I get a little opportunity to say something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would love to just quickly read this resolution. I mean, I wish I could see you and give you a shake and a hug and take you out to lunch. I know you've been a pillar here at the Court Reporters Board. You've been here, as you stated, since 2007. And so we have to honor you through this telecommuting, but one day I look forward to honoring you in person.
Oh, thank
But
you.
in the meantime, I would love to read out this resolution. It states, whereas Elizabeth Lizinski has faithfully and devotedly served as a board member of the Court Reporters Board from October 15, 2007 through June 1st, 2020, having never missed a single meeting. She served as vice chair from October 16, 2009 to 15, 2010. You've served as a co-chair of the Online Testing Policy and Procedures Task Force. You were a co-chair of the Sunset Review Committee. You've testified before the legislature during the board sunset review hearings. You are an integral in developing the 4 board strategic plans and providing direction on reaching the board's goals. You have strongly advocated for the protection of consumers from corporations practicing outside the requirements of the law set forth by the state of California. And whereas throughout your years of service at all times, Elizabeth, you have given fully of yourself, your ideas, you've acted forthright and conscientiously, and always with the public interests and welfare in mind. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Court Reporters Board express a heartfelt appreciation to Elizabeth Lizinski for the outstanding contribution you've made during your many years of service on the Court Reporters Board and to the consumers of California. Thank you from the bottom of all our hearts. You have done an amazing job Are there any comments from board members? I'm happy to field those, and I see Board Member O'Neill.
Thank you. Thank you. The first thing that comes through my mind when I think about this, and not very professional, is I'm thinking, no, she can't leave. But that's because she has been an exemplary board member. And I feel it's been a privilege and an honor working with you, Elizabeth, over these years. You definitely, you came in and understood the excuse me, the concept of consumer protection. And I, as a licensee member, always not only appreciated the input that you gave in that regard, but depended on that input that you would share with the board. It helped me in making decisions, and I am going to miss that. If there was a poster child for saying this was, this is the board member for all the, Department of Consumer Affairs, it would have your picture.
Oh.
And I just really feel honored having to work with you. The state of California and the consumers of California have benefited time and time again from your presence and your devotion and involvement with the board. I wish you much success in your non-board life from this point forward, and hope you live as fully then as and in your endeavors that you have for the last how many years, whatever,
Many years.
Yeah, that's right. So I feel like I should say more, but because of everything that you've done for us, but congratulations and thank you for your service, and I mean that genuinely. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Board Member O'Neill. We all feel that way, and you expressed it very nicely. Are there any other board members who'd like to comment? Miss Board Member Nocella?
Yeah, thank you. And Elizabeth, you will be sorely missed. I've always appreciated your candor, your honesty, your humor, which is first and foremost, I think. You've just been a joy to work with and a pleasure to be around. And I know the staff and I know my other fellow board members are truly, truly going to miss you. We wish you all the best. And I know you're not that far away from headquarters. So we expect some random cameos or, an opportunity for us to take you out to lunch when the time is right. But thank you very much for your service, and you will be missed.
Thank you. And so this is a resolution. We're reviewing it now as we speak, but we will need to have a motion of approval of this resolution. Before we do so, I see Ms. Spinner's hand is raised. You can speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let Elizabeth know that I consider it an honor and a privilege to have served with such a committed consumer advocate. I feel like the board has benefited from Elizabeth's passion for public service for many years. She's always freely shared her perspective and sparks discussion that really ensures that the board is making a well thought out decision. We will miss you, Elizabeth. I will miss you, but we wish you wild success in your next endeavors, and I know without a doubt that there will be many. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spinner. I see Board Member O'Neill's hand raised as well as Board Member Nocella. Is there more that you would like to speak to? I'll start with Board Member O'Neill.
I was going to make a motion, but if we're not ready for that.
Nope, a motion is in order, so please do so.
I would make is it to accept it? The motion?
So, yes, to adopt the
Adopt.
resolution is what we
Okay.
need. Yes,
Okay.
honoring Board Member Lozinski.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I would make a motion to adopt the resolution for Board Member Elizabeth Lasensky.
Okay, so we have a motion, and I also see Ms. Finner's hand up, so I just want to make sure that we're doing this as she's requesting. Nope, hands down. Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, thank you. Oh, who would like, Carrie? Ms. Nocella?
Sorry, I'm kind of excited with my hands up and down. I had my hand raised to motion or second, so.
Okay, that's
I'm
perfect.
happy to second it.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? I don't see any hands raised, and so I'll take it to public comments. Are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. You should see it in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A panel, click on the question mark within a square in the lower bottom center of your screen, or click on the three dots.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do. We have a couple. The first is Mike Hensley. So, Mike, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. Board Member Lozinski, on behalf of CCRA and all of the stenographic members in our association, we wish to thank you for your time and service to the profession of court reporting and the oversight thereof. And we wish you all the best in your future. You've given much to us, and now it's our time to allow life to give much back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next public comment?
That would be from Karen Guevara. Karen, I will let you know when you're unmuted. You are unmuted, Karen.
Hello, Board Member Lozinski. Thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication to our profession. I've really appreciated getting to know you and the personal attention that you give to everyone. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Guevara. Okay, do we have another public comment?
No, that would be, oh, yes, no, sorry about that. No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. As you see, Elizabeth, we're also very thankful, and this is your time to make any comments that you'd like.
Well, I would like to say that it has been my honor and privilege to serve with you all, that you have all given me so much. I've learned a lot by being on this board, all the way from the board members, staff, and to all of you in the associations. You have, when you've given your comments, your perspective, it's all been very helpful for me because I know nothing really about court reporting. So I really appreciate all of that you have given me, and I will probably be in touch with you somewhat in the future, but you take care of yourselves too. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Board Member Lozinski. Thank you very much. So if I move now to our next agenda item, this would be agenda item 9, legislation, and I'll turn, oh, I'm sorry. We have a hand raised for, and I think I already know the answer to that. We have the motion and the second, and we do need a roll call vote. Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt. Ms. Lozinski, would you like to accept the motion to adopt your resolution?
Well, sure. Thank you.
Ms. Nocella? Ms. Nocella? Miss O'Neill,
Yes.
Miss Sunkeys,
Yes.
Miss Hurt,
Yes.
motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you. So agenda item 9 is the legislation. Ms. Finner, would you like to give the presentation on this?
Okay, so we have a number of bills that affect court reporting or the board that would be appropriate for the board to take positions on. However, in these interesting times that we find ourselves in, the legislators have been asked to not put forward legislation that's to the COVID pandemic or truly essential to whatever endeavor they're putting forward. So in going through, I went through yesterday to update as much as I could with the assistance of the legislative analyst that was assigned to us from DCA, who helped me immensely in researching where the authors of these bills were going. So a big shout out to Bianca Angula. So starting with 9.1, the author's office says that they're unlikely to move this bill forward, but they're undecided. So for that reason, I think it's worth the board's consideration. This bill would make it clear that if a transcript is being
Hello, Ms. Finner? I don't believe we hear you anymore. At least I'm unable to. Let me turn to Ms.
Are you there?
Bruning. Okay, now you're back.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. I was just, hopefully I cut out at the point where I was explaining that if an audio or video recording of a deposition was going to be offered, that the transcript that must accompany it would be prepared by a certified shorthand reporter.
Yes, you now have said that clearly. Are there any other points you'd like to put forth about this legislation?
No, just since it's the first one we're taking up, that the board can instruct or vote to take a position in support, a position to oppose it, or they can just remain neutral and watch the bill. Typically, if you take support or opposition positions, that you would instruct staff to write a letter to that effect for signature of the chair, and that would be forwarded to the author's office and the appropriate committee that it's being heard in.
Thank you for the suggested actions forward. I have one quick question. Actually, no, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to turn to the board now and see if there are any questions or comments or thoughts on this one with regards to sending a letter of support, sending a letter against, or just being neutral. I see Board Member Sunkeys.
I would suggest we send a letter in support.
Okay, we have one for support. Other board members? Okay, Board Member Lozinski.
Well, I think we support this bill. Whether it is going to go forward is another story, but I think I would support this bill.
Okay. So, Board Member O'Neill. If you could, Board Member O'Neill, unmute yourself. Okay.
I'm seeing how many times I can do that through the meeting. I'm going for a personal best. I agree with both Elizabeth and Robin to support this bill.
Okay, so looks like we at least have a majority support in writing a letter. I too support the bill. I see a hand raised by Board Member Sunkeys, and another comment by yourself there.
I just, if any clarification needs to be made or any reason for supporting it, I will say one of the things working in court is whenever we have a recording come into an attorney trying to introduce a recording, it is paramount that they have to have a transcript of that recording, and that the only time that there is a provision in the rule governing those recordings coming in that the judge in their discretion can waive that, and when they do, it's a disaster. And they only have to do it once before they find out from all the other judges that they don't do it that way, but it's absolutely necessary. So I that's one of the reasons why I think that this is important.
Okay. So continued support. I see Board Member O'Neill's hand up. And now it goes down. Okay. So it sounds like we have a majority that would like to support a letter, send a letter of support for AB 424. Do we need to make a motion? Ms. Finner or Rebecca? Yes.
Yes, we do. We need a motion.
Thank you very much. I'm looking for someone who can make a motion on support of this AB 424.
This is Rob, and I would move that we send a letter in support of 424.
Okay, we have, we
And this is-
have, I'm sorry, we have a motion and now we need a second.
I would second that. This is Tony.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill. You can, okay, we have a motion and a second. In this further discussion, in order to help write this letter, we've already heard one reasoning put forth by Board Member Sunkeys. Are there additional reasons for support that folks would like to provide from the board here? Okay, I don't see a hand up, but I see someone unmuting themselves. Board Member Sunkeys?
Yes, and it probably goes without saying, but the fact that it's prepared by a certified shorthand reporter is a very important part of the bill too, and worthy of our support.
Yes. Okay. So now that's our further discussion. I'll now turn to public comments.
All right, this is the moderator, and I am opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A panel, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom center of your screen, or click on the 3 ellipses.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do. We have one from Charlotte Matthias. Charlotte, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Charlotte,
Thank you.
You've been unmuted.
Hello there. So I'm trying to pull up the actual bill, but it seems to me at one point there was supposed to be clarification that it was supposed to be not just a certified shorthand reporter, because that was evident, but it was supposed to be a California CSR. Is that language out now? Or did it never make it in?
Okay, thank you for that question. We'll take a look as we move to other public comments. Do you have more that you would like to state, or?
That's.
I'm sorry, Ms. Matthias, is there more you'd like to state? We'll take, okay.
No.
So do we have another public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. We have some discussion and public comment. So now it's time for us to take a roll call vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski,
Yes.
Ms. Nocella,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Sunkes.
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we will send a letter to that effect. Are there any comments to the public or answers to the public comments question? I'll start with Ms. Finner.
So the language of the bill says they should be prepared, the transcript should be prepared by a certified shorthand reporter. I would take that from being California legislation that it would be a California CSR, but it's not specific at this time.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Ms. O'Neill, you are unmuted, but I don't see a hand up. Would you like to add any comments? No? Oh. Okay, so now I'll, Ms. Finner, if you can move on, please.
The next bill before us is AB 613 by Lowe, and it would allow boards and bureaus across the Department of Consumer Affairs to increase their license fees every 4 years without going to the legislature, as long as it was in the range of the consumer price index. So basically a cost of living raise without having to go to the legislature every single year or as often as they would need to.
Okay, thank you. This is another one in which we can send a letter of support. We can stay neutral or send a letter not in support. Are there any board members' comments? And if you could please raise your hand and then I'll call on you in that order. I now see board member Lizinski's hand up.
Oh, absolutely. It would be wonderful if we didn't have to go
Ms.
through this. What? What?
Nothing. You're fine. You were unmuted, I think, when you started to talk a little bit. So I was just gonna urge you to unmute yourself. But go ahead, please continue.
It would be wonderful not to have to go through this authorization program every time we needed to raise fees. I think it would be a great thing to have this ability. So I think we should support it.
Okay, so you think we should send a letter of support. Board Member O'Neill.
What was that?
Board Member O'Neill.
Yeah, I just thought, okay. Yes, I also think we should send a letter. I think that with the, I don't know what's based on the consumer price index, I think that's more that aids the boards in knowing basically what they would be getting, over, at the end of the 4 years and going into the next 4 years. Also true for the licensees of any of the boards that, they're not going to be surprised by a, $100 increase in the licensee fee. So I think this is a very workable prospect for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Sunkes.
I move that we send a letter in support of this bill.
So we have a motion. Is there a second? Board Member O'Neill.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Raise your hands if you'd like further discussion. Otherwise, I will turn to public comment. Board Member Lizinski just put her hand down. So now I'll turn to public comment.
All right, this is the moderator. I am opening up the question and answer panel. The Q&A panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" in the ask field and send it to all panelists.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, so I'll now turn back to the board. Ms. Bruning, if you could please do a roll call vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Nocella.
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Ms. Sunkes.
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Finner.
The next bill for consideration is AB 1263, also by Assemblymember Lowe. It would be a prohibition from a licensee adding a clause to any contract or written agreement that would prohibit a consumer, somebody that they're entering into the contract with, from filing a license or complaint against their license with the licensing board.
Okay, so this is a measure to support consumers. Are there any board member questions or comments they'd like to make right now on this one? Again, where support, stay neutral, or not support. And seeing that there aren't any comments, would someone like to make a motion? Okay, I see Board Member O'Neill's hand up first. Could you please?
Yes, I make a motion that a letter be written in support of, where am I? AB 1263 to be sent.
Okay, is there a second? I see Board Member Lozinski's hand up.
Yes, that's a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? I don't see any, and so now I'll turn to public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field and send it to all panelists.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, no public comments. Please, Ms. Bruning, could you please do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Lisinski,
Yes.
Ms. Nocella,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys,
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Ms. Spinner.
The next bill for consideration is AB 1469 by Assemblymember Lowe. The board is already in support of this bill. It is the firm registration bill, and it is waiting for referral. We're hopeful that it will move forward, but it will depend on the shortened legislative schedule. Going on to page 46, AB 2028 is a requirement. Right now, I think you all know that we must post our agenda 10 days before the meeting in order that the public can be prepared for what we're going to talk about. This bill takes it one step further and asks that we put all of our board materials up to at least 10 days ahead of time. That would be the board book that everyone's used to working with. The bill is currently in the Assembly Appropriations Committee and is scheduled to be heard on May 26th, which is next Tuesday.
Okay, how would this affect, Ms. Spinner, the board? Do you believe that you could submit to the 10 days as well as all the relevant background?
So when it first came out, I thought that that was an impossible thing to meet, but this particular meeting that we're in today had a number of controversial topics, and so I used it as a test board book out at the same time. And we missed it by only a day. That came up on the board. The board material, the background materials came up one day after the agenda was posted. So I do believe it's possible. If the board feels that it would be helpful for the consumer, we should support it. It's possible.
Okay, I'll just add that some opposition comments to this were that while there's transparency and accountability with putting the documents online 10 days prior, it's also maybe leaving out the possibility that the most recent available information is not provided that would affect decisions. Ms. Spinner?
That is correct. It would prohibit any additional items being distributed at the board meeting, for example. Sometimes we'll bring updated budget information or things like that. The board would not be able to consider that type of information if it wasn't out to the public 10 days ahead of time.
Yeah, it seems a bit problematic. Okay, I understand the spirit of what they're trying to do. But I also think the board needs the most recent available information. And sometimes it comes a few days beforehand. Okay, so this is back before the board. This is an opportunity for us to either support, not support, or stay neutral. Would somebody like to make a motion? Okay, I see someone unmuted themselves. Board Member Nocella.
Sorry, I was not following proper protocol with my hand raised. I think we remain neutral on it, just given the transparency plus, what Ms. Fenner articulated around, the concerns around not being able to bring updated budget information. So I think we remain neutral on it, but that is my motion.
Okay, so this is the motion. Is there a second? And Board Member Nocella, if you don't mind just phrasing it in a motion style, that would be great.
I move that we remain neutral on, was it AB 1385?
Actually, AB 2028.
2028.
Okay, so we have a formal motion. Is there a second? Board Member O'Neill?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Okay, well, we've got a motion, a second, no further discussion. And, as I think this out in my head, since we're staying neutral, we don't need to do anything. We don't even have to write a letter, so we can just move on. I will say, since we've opened it up for other ones that we've had conversations about, are there any public comments on this particular one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel and we can see if we have any public comments. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field in the lower right corner of your screen and send it to all panelists. And we do have one from Heather Bautista. So Heather, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Heather, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you. I've got a question. Why was no public comment allowed for AB 1469 discussion? I guess it's a question more than a comment. You skipped past public comment allowance for AB 1469.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Let me back up just a moment. Thank you for your comment. Are there any other public comments for 2028?
No, there are not.
Okay. Ms. Nocella, in light of us staying neutral, are you willing to withdraw your motion since we're not going to write a letter for or against?
Yes, I'm willing to withdraw my motion.
Okay, so in light of the fact that it seems we have a majority who'd like to stay neutral, Ms. Finner is noting that. If I then, I apologize if we skipped AB 1469 public comments. This bill would require business entities offering court reporting services to register with the Court Reporters Board. So I'm happy to take public comments now. This is an item that we have been working on for quite some time and obviously are all supportive of. Public comments, please. Do we have any public comments?
We do not. Oh, well, Heather Bautista again. So hold on, Heather. Heather, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, I want to urge, I know that the board has said they're in support of AB 1469 with non-shorthand reporting corporation entities being registered. I think that's, I, as a business owner, a court reporter business owner, I am a certified shorthand reporter. I am following that says that any court reporting, any entity offering court reporting services has to be owned and operated by certified shorthand reporters. And these venture capitalist firms that are not certified shorthand reporters should not be allowed to operate in California. Period. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comments. Are there any others?
Yes, we have Denise Marlowe. Denise, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Denise, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, part of CSR 11631. I don't know if I wasn't following correctly, but I think what actually happened was we skipped several. And then I accidentally closed out my screen, so I can't get back to the agenda. But I do believe we skipped several. That's how we ended up with 2028 or whatever it was. We try to get back in.
Yeah, I think if people notice, they are starred, and those are the ones that we have determined to decide as a board whether we're going to support, not support, or stay neutral. And although 1469 was starred, it's a bill we've been working for years on, and so I think there have been a lot of public comments to it, and we just moved on. So I'm glad we're coming back to it and people have the opportunity to speak. Are there any additional public comments? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like, moderator, do we have any additional public comments on 1469?
Yes, Charlotte Matthias. Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. So I know on 1469, it talks about a fee of $500. And like Heather said, the current law is that if a corporation is in California practicing court reporting, they will all board members will be CSRs. But with this reporter in charge model, you're allowing multiple people on the board who are not CSRs to pay one fee of $500. I would really wish the board would push for it to be more equitable, being that if you're going to allow this, that every board member of the corporation have to take a written portion of our test and pay the same fee we do. So if there are 10 board members, all 10 of them must take the test and all 10 of them must pay the same fee we do. The $500 for a large corporation is not equitable to the licensees in California. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Do we have any others?
Yes, we do. Cindy Gebby. Cindy, you've been unmuted.
Hi there, Cindy Gebby again, CSR 10,691. I just want to say that I agree with both Heather's and Charlotte's comments regarding AB 1469. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
That would be from Kimberly Dorso. Kimberly, I will let you know when you've been unmuted.
Welcome, Ms. Dorso.
Thank you. Compliments to the moderator for doing such a great job. And I agree with Heather Bautista and Charlotte Matthias's comments. I believe that 69 needs further work on the language. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Are there additional public comments?
Yes, there are. We have Harry Poulter that would like to make a public comment. So Harry, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Harry, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. I agree with Heather, Charlotte, and Kimberly. I just wanted to put myself on the record on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next public comment.
And that was the end of public comments.
Thank you. So as I stated earlier, this is a bill we've been working on for a very long time, for many years, and the board has stated their support, and we're working with the author. We have heard the public comments, and we will share that with the author and continue to make the legislation the best it can be.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry I apologize to interrupt, but it seems I did overlook one person that wanted to make a public comment.
Sure, absolutely.
Actually, yes. So actually, it looks like there's a first I'll Joy Holbrook, and Joy, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Joy, you've been unmuted. And it, Joy, you've been unmuted. We are not hearing you at this time. You may want to go up to the top of your screen, click on Communicate, and select Audio Connections. Joy? All right, maybe
while she's doing
we'll
that,
come
we
back
can move
to
to the other.
yes. The other was Karen Guevara. So Karen, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Karen, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you. This is Karen Guevara, CSR 12478. I really appreciate the statements about how long we've been working on this bill and wonder if there's any way to communicate the sense of urgency that we now have for firm registration in light of the unlawful and shameful practices that these large corporate, I don't know what you want to call them, agencies from out of California that do whatever they want to do and are basically murdering our profession. And just if we can get something done as soon as possible, because, you know, we're dying out here. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comments. Were we able to?
Yes. So Joy typed that she concurred with Heather Bautista.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I guess that ends public comments. Are there any additional comments the board would like to make in light of the public comments before we move on? Okay, I don't see any hands up, so I will give it back to Ms. Finner to continue with the legislation.
Madam Chair, I thought that there was one more comment or request for comment.
There was, and the moderator stated, I guess she couldn't get back on, and so she just typed in the comment box that she agreed with the prior comment by, I believe it was Ms. Batista, and that was her public comment.
There's one more. There is one more.
There's another public comment. I'm sorry, I'm relying on the moderator here. Is there another public comment?
This is moderator. I apologize. The public comment box is very small, so I apologize if I've overlooked anyone. Let me open up the Q&A panel back up so we can check on that.
Okay, thank you for doing so.
And thank you for your patience. All right, so we have a Carrie Shane Line. So Kelly, I will let you know. Kelly, you have been unmuted.
Hi,
welcome.
Hi, my name is Kelly Shaneline, CSR 13476. I just wanted to ask if 1469 passed, would that have any impact on these foreign corporations sending out digitals? To my understanding, you would still say you have no jurisdiction. Thank you.
Okay, are there any additional public comments?
This is the moderator, and I am looking through our Q&A panel to double check. And it looks like we have now taken all of them.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Finner, if we can move on to the next legislative piece.
Okay, that would be AB 2185, and that would require that anybody that's active military, U.S. Armed Forces, or their spouse would have license reciprocity. There are some additional requirements, like they have to be in good standing and things like that, but that's the gist of the bill. That was heard in Assembly Business and Professions Committee today, but I don't have a result on that vote.
So if I read it correctly, it's to issue a license to an applicant if the applicant holds an out-of-state license in good standing.
Yeah, it's a reciprocity
bill. Okay, this is before the board, and we have started. is there anyone wanting to make a motion for support, neutral, or not support? I did just hear by Ms. Finner was heard today, but that doesn't prevent us from still responding. Miss Board Member Sunkeys.
Ms. Fenner, did you say that this is for military? So they not only are a licensee in another state, but they're military?
So the language that we looked at, assuming it wasn't amended today, says that notwithstanding other laws, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, there would be reciprocity for an applicant that applies if it meets all of the following requirements. And the first one is that the person is married to or is an active duty member of the armed forces. And then it goes on, they hold a license in good standing in another state. They've held their practice there for at least the last 5 years. There's a number of things, but they have to meet all of those things. So it's really geared toward active duty military or their spouses.
Okay, Miss Board Member Sunkeys, would you, if your hand is still up, would you like to make a comment or a motion? No, okay. Anyone else to make a motion? I mean, essentially, this bill is about reciprocity, and it's reciprocity as long as there's a valid license in another state with respect to someone who is in the military or a partner who's in the military. All right, I see Board Member Sunkey's hand up. Please, if you could.
I move that we I move that we support this bill because of the active duty military.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, in order for this motion to carry, okay, I see Board Member O'Neill. If you could unmute yourself.
I thought my hand raised it. Yes, I will second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, I will now, actually, I want to underline or just understand. It seems like the reasoning is mainly because it's military and sorry, I just want to reread it. So I just want for the board to understand that there are different standards for becoming a licensee per state, as we heard in our first one. And so essentially, if we're sending a letter to support this, we are stating that we are okay with those different standards just because they're in the military. So I'll now move to public comments. Are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now available in your lower right-hand corner. Please type that you would like to make a public comment and send it to all panelists.
Okay, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have a couple right now, and the first is from Heather Bautista. So Heather, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Heather, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. Again, I would just say that if we're going to grant reciprocity to Texas or RMR or CSR or CRRs, it should be the same with military. I think you can't start carving out exceptions for military, although I will say thank you to anybody who's in the active military and the wives and husbands at home while their loved ones are fighting for us. I think that this should just be the same across the board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next public comment, please.
The next public comment is from Kian Lee Green. Kian, I will let you know when you're unmuted. Kian, you've been unmuted.
Hi, this is I'm Kyung Lee Green, CSR 12655. I agree with Heather, and I think it would be very strange to have, just because their husband or their wife is in the military, for them to just be automatically granted licensure. If they're going to do that, they should also have to take the written test, because they could be anywhere in the world and they may not know the rules and regulations of California. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
And that was the last public comment.
Okay, I bring it back before the board. I posed the question I did before. This is kind of further discussion because we are, as been stated, carving out an exception to military after we had a very verbose, a very long conversation about being sure about standards of licensees in other states. And so this is, to me, a mixed message, and I'm going to probably vote against it. But my vote against it is not because I do not support the military. My father is a veteran. I am very thankful for the military's presence and all the work that they do on behalf of the United States. But I do think that this is not the time to support AB 2185 in light of where we are in understanding different standards for different states. So with that said, is there any further discussion from the board? And I'll just lastly say, yeah, carving out an exception to military just doesn't seem appropriate. Okay, I don't see any other board member further discussion comments. Ms. Bruning, could we do a roll call vote?
Oh. Thank you, Ms. Lisinski.
No.
Ms. Nocella?
Aye.
Ms. O'Neill?
Can I hear the motion again?
So the motion that was put forth by, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bruning, could you repeat it? I'll let you do so.
The motion was simply moving to support the bill, AB 2185.
Which is, and I'll just a license to an applicant if the applicant holds an out-of-state license in good standing in that discipline and practice level, and if the applicant meets certain requirements, including but not limited to holding the out-of-state license for the past 3 of 5 years. So essentially, we are voting to support a letter in support of reciprocity, but specifically carving out the exception to military and their partners. I have a no, a yes, and now it's your turn, Ms. O'Neill, for your vote. If you could unmute yourself, Board Member O'Neill, and place your vote on the motion I believe that you seconded. I'm not hearing Miss O'Neill. Is anyone else? Okay, here we go.
Let me try again.
Oh, I can hear you now. Could you please say your vote?
Is no.
No. Okay. And
Ms. Sunkees?
Yes.
Ms. Hurt?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. I will now move to Ms. Finner, if you can continue with the legislation.
So the next one is 9.19, which is AB 3136. The author has indicated that they are pursuing the bill, but it's not set for hearing. It is designed to carve out court reporters or certified shorthand reporters from the Dynamics, the passage of AB 5 last year, the Dynamics decision.
Okay. Are there any board member comments on this one? Ms. O'Neill, you're unmuted. Would you like to make a comment?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, if you could mute yourself. Any other board members on this legislation? Okay, I don't see any. Are there any public comments on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel is now open. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send it to all panelists.
Okay, public comments?
We have no public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. So board, Ms. Finner, if you could just say the bill number one more time for folks.
It's our agenda item 9.19. It's AB 3136 by Assemblymember Vogel.
Thank you. I'll just ask one quick question. Do we know why there's no bill analysis on this one?
No, I would assume it has something to do with the abbreviated legislative calendar that they've had this year.
Okay. All right. So back for the board, do we want to make a motion of support or not support? Or do we want to just say neutral on this? My suggestion would to be neutral, but this is for the entire board to make a decision on. So I look forward to a board member raising their hand to make a comment. Thank you, Board Member Sunkeys.
Yes, my question is this the bill? I've been hearing about a bill to create a carve out for court reporters, a carve out from the AB 5. Is this that bill?
Ms.
Yes.
Benner?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Then I would move that we send a letter in support of this bill. I think it's crucial to the reporters in the state.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Board Member O'Neill?
If I second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, can we move? Actually, we already went to public comment, did we not? Ms. Finner on this one?
No, we have not done public comment yet.
Okay, let's now please take public comment.
All right. This is the moderator, and I have opened up the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" in the Ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A box, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom middle of your screen, or click on the 3 periods.
Okay, do we have
Ken Lee Green? Ken, you've been unmuted.
Hi, this is Kiana again. I agree with Board Member Sankis. This is crucial to court reporters in the state of California to support our impartiality for this carve out for AB 5. Attorneys and other professionals in the state have already received or worked for their carve out. I think court reporters also deserve this carve out. I would hope that the board would send a letter in support. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment?
That was the only public comment.
Okay, I'll turn it down to Board Member O'Neill.
I'm sorry.
Your hand is raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I did that. Yeah, I would make a motion to support this legislation. We haven't done it, had sent off before a letter either way. Because wasn't the court reporter just added with since our last meeting?
Yeah, Miss Bruning?
Thank you. We have a motion on the table to support. We're ready to take a vote if you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill, is there any further discussion on this motion? That's where we are.
Okay. No.
Okay. I now see Ms. Bond. Yes?
I just want to clarify, are we considering Member O'Neill's second to Member Sunke's motion?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I remember the vote to have went, or the motion to have been called, and so I.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, and so there's no further discussion. We've taken public comments. It's now time for roll call vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski.
Yes.
Ms. Nocella.
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Ms. Sunkis.
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Finner. Next legislative item.
The next item that I would point out to the board is on page 48. Numbers 9.28 and 9.29 both have been withdrawn by the author's office, not because of any problem. She's still very supportive of the issues being sent forward. However, they don't comply with the request to only move forward COVID-related bills. And so they have been withdrawn or indicated by the author's office that they will not be pursued. So that brings us to 9.30, which is AB 1146. SB 1146. This one started out with SoCal STIP language in it. All of that language has been amended out. At this point, it is just making a permanent statute out of one of the Judicial Council's emergency orders, so that the witness would not have to be in the presence of the reporter.
Okay, just to keep in line with how we've done the other bills, although I know SB 991 and SB 1106 has been taken off because it's not emergency COVID-19 related. Are there any public comments to those items? I want to give people the opportunity since it is in our agenda packet.
All right, this is a moderator. I have opened up the question and answer panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please type. I would like to make a public comment in the ask field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and send it to the panelists. And I see Mike Hensley would like to make a public comment. So Mike, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. And Mike, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Recognizing SB 1146, I'd like to bring to the CRB's attention that CCRA is in the process of talking to the author and sponsors, working on fixes and changes to the bill. Thank you.
Okay, that's a public comment to 1146. What's our next public comment?
That was the only public comment.
Okay, only public comment to 1146, and there were none for SB 991 and SB 1106. Okay, this brings it back before the board. Are there any comments board members would like to make? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So SB 1146, is CCRA asking for board action, or Ms. Finner, can you clarify what you understand?
Madam Chair, I heard that the CCRA representatives say they were working with the author's office on amendments, and I was just wondering if they were asking for the board to take a position.
Okay, if we could return to public comments and see if the CCRA representative could inform us on like the board to do at this moment. Public comments, please.
Sure. The question and answer panel has been opened. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a public comment" and send it to all panelists. And I see that Mike Hensley would like to make a public comment. Mike, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. CCRA is simply providing the information for CRB Insight. No board action is necessary at this time.
Thank you. Okay, in light of that, Ms. Finner. If we can move on to the next legislative item.
So there's no position on 61, I'm sorry, SB 1146.
I did not see any hands raised by the board.
Okay.
No one, yes.
Okay, then the last item, SB 1324, the referral to the Veterans Administration Committee has been rescinded due to the shortened 2020 leg calendar. So that concludes the legislative report.
Okay, SB 1324 is starred, and you're saying it's pending referral. Did I understand that?
No. It had been referred to the Committee on Veterans Affairs, and that referral has been rescinded due to the shortened 2020 legislative calendar.
Okay, thank you. Is this a bill that the board would like to support or not support, sending a letter or stay neutral?
There's nowhere to send it. It's been pulled.
Oh, it's been pulled completely. Sorry. Well, I understand. When I hear, because it's related to COVID, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't still send a letter to the author saying that we support the bill, which is Alan, but maybe I misunderstand that that's not worth time.
So far, we have only taken positions on authors that have not pulled their bills back. There's nothing saying that we can't, but we just haven't on any of the other ones.
I think I asked the board because this is another military associated, and I've heard board members express support before about that being important, but we don't have to take a position, and I don't see any hands, and so I don't see any hands. Do we have any public comments on this bill, SB 1324?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel. The question and answer panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type "I would like to make a comment" and submit it to all panelists. This field is located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, then I'll move it along. Any additional comments, Ms. Finner, with the legislation?
No, Madam Chair, that concludes the legislative report.
Thank you. So we're running up here on 407.
As I said before.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay, she remuted her. Yes. So we are running up to 407, and we're about to move on to agenda item 10, which is regulations for AB 2138 implementation. There are two agenda items that we absolutely have to get through, which are 10 and 11. So let's move on to item 10. Ms. Finner, if you could, actually, I see the regulations attorney, Ms. Rogers, unmuting herself. So whether it be herself or you, we'd love to hear a presentation.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I was going to say, as I said, Danny Rogers is our new regulations attorney dedicated to Court Reporters Board, and she'll be making the presentation.
Thank you. And I want to apologize for the public. I have to tell you, I've got a lot of screens going and a lot of hands raised. I have a lot of respect for anybody who's a switchboard operator. So I am now moving to Ms. Rogers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Danny Rogers, Regulations Counsel to the Board. I just got here in October of 2019. I'm here to introduce a couple of items today. The first is agenda item 10 that pertains to AB 2138. and I'm here to introduce modifications to the text of sections 2470 and 2471. These modifications are proposed primarily for clarity. They are modifications that we've learned through dealing with the OAL are preferable in the package. So we've gone ahead and proactively proposed them so as not to hold up the review process once the package gets submitted. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you'd like me to go through each proposed modification, I can. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm open to questions if you have any.
But there has been, as stated, substantial technical changes done, and so there are edits. Do board members want to go through line by line, or are there any comments or questions for a lot of options here? I don't see any board members' hands up. Are there any board members who disagree with any of the changes? Because we've all had this packet, we've reviewed it. It seems that we do not. We're on agenda item 10, so I'll turn to public comment. Let's see if there are any public comments on agenda item 10.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have now opened the question and answer panel. You should see it in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment," in the ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the Q&A feature, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom middle of your screen, or else click on the 3 periods.
Thank you. If I could ask Ms. Rogers, thank you, Ms. Rogers, to mute. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, so I'll bring this back before the board. It seems there are no questions to the technical changes that are being considered. The recommended board action. The staff recommends that the board review and approve the revised language. Additionally, the board should direct staff to offer the amended language to the public for a 15-day comment period. If no substantive comments are received, staff should be instructed to continue with the final submission to the OAL. Would a board member like to make a motion on staff's recommendation? Thank you. Board Member Lozinski.
Are you expecting me to repeat that entire motion? Whoa, all right, I'm looking.
You could say so moved.
So moved, but don't I need to repeat the language?
It seems our attorney said that was enough. So
Okay,
we've got
go
a
with
so moved, and now I'll look for a second. Thank you, Board Member Sunkeys. If you could unmute, are you making a second?
Yes, a second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion amongst the board? Ms. Lozinski, would you like to make an additional comment or?
No.
Okay.
Well, oh, it's still up, sorry.
That's okay. Now I'll turn to public comments. Are there any public comments on the motion in the second?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A field. All right, the question and answer panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a comment," in the ask field and send it to all panelists.
Okay, are there any public comments?
There are not.
Okay, then let's do a roll call vote. Ms. Bruning.
Thank you, Ms. Lozinski.
Yes.
Ms. Nocella.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Sunkeys.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 11, regulations for disciplinary guidelines. As Ms. Rogers stated, this is also an item she will lead us through. Is there anything that you'd like to say in addition to what you've said earlier?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We are here to approve modified disciplinary guidelines that are incorporated by reference in Title 16, Section 2472. And I understand the board members have board materials that include the proposed disciplinary guidelines. I just wanted to let you know that since that time that they've been distributed, we've proposed a few more edits, and I would be happy to go through those with you when you're ready for me. If
yes,
everyone
if you
wants
could,
to
please. Yes.
Certainly. So the first proposed edit is on page 12. And it is in the first full paragraph on that page, beginning with the bolded word maximum. And the edit is a change from if to as before applicable. So the sentence will now read, revocation of license or denial of admittance to the examination as applicable instead of if applicable.
Yes. Okay.
Page 13, the minimum condition under item 4. That language has been changed to be consistent with the minimum penalty on item 5. They basically warranted the same language under minimum, and I had slightly different text, so they've been made consistent. So again, it is changed to suspension, stayed, and probation for either 3 years or the same period of time applied to the criminal conviction, whichever is longer.
Okay. Next.
On page 20, we're going to change 1,095 days to 3 years for clarity in item 5, titled Residency Out of the State.
Okay.
Page 22, under condition of advertising approval, such will be added between any and copy in the final sentence of that paragraph.
Did you say page 21?
22. So it would be condition 14 under mandatory conditions of probation. Or yes, mandatory.
Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, I'm seeing that on page 21. Right before
too.
B?
Yes.
Yes, and it's on my page 22, but for whatever reasons, depending on whether in simple or all markup, it sometimes shoots it to another page. I apologize.
Okay, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, Danny. What was the actual change?
Certainly. It's condition 14, titled Advertising Approval. So the last sentence of that paragraph currently reads, any copy must be approved. I'm proposing to insert the word such in between any and copy.
Okay, next change.
And this is the final set of changes. So this is under condition 1, the optional conditions. And we will be proposing to change in item 1, subcontracted in the decision to subcontracted of the decision under the second to last paragraph of condition 1. So optional condition 1, subcontracted of the decision instead of in the decision.
Okay.
Next change will be to add an abstention paragraph to conditions 3 and 4. This one I'll read, and I have provided this language to Ms. Fetter as well. Under condition 3, it starts with, if respondent is determined to be unable to practice safely, the licensed physician making this determination shall immediately notify the board and respondent by telephone, and the board shall request that the Attorney General's office prepare an accusation or petition to revoke probation. Respondent shall immediately cease practice and may not resume practice until notified by the board. During this period of non-practice, respondent shall not engage in any practice for which a license issued by the board is required until the board has notified respondent that a medical determination permits respondent to resume practice. This period of non-practice will not apply to the reduction of this probationary time period. Next, under condition 4, for psychological evaluation, we are adding a similar paragraph after the initial paragraph. And it will state, if respondent is determined to be unable to practice safely, the licensed mental health care practitioner making this determination shall immediately notify the board and respondent by telephone, and the board shall request that the Attorney General's office prepare an accusation or petition to revoke probation. Respondent shall immediately cease practice and may not resume practice until notified by the board. During this period of non-practice, respondent shall not engage in any practice for which a license issued by the board is required until the board has notified respondent that a mental health determination permits respondent to resume practice. This period of non-practice will not apply to the reduction of this probationary time period. And finally, we propose to strike the abstention paragraph on page 25.
Okay.
I'm sorry, for clarification, which abstention paragraph? Is there a number?
One moment, let me grab that. My notes. That is paragraph 6.
Got it. Thank you.
Which
Thank
is
you.
basically reformulated in conditions 3 and 4.
Okay, so the first question I will ask, Ms. Finner, do you have any problems with the changes that have been put forth?
Madam Chair, none.
Okay, I think I heard none. That was fast. Are there any comments or questions by the board on these additional changes? I don't see any questions or comments. So I'll now move to public comments. Are there any public comments on the additional changes or anything related to this agenda item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've opened the question and answer panel. You should see it in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the feature, please click on the question mark within a square in the lower bottom of your screen or click on the 3 dots.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
All right, I'll bring it back before the board. I think because there haven't been any comments. Oh, I see Board Member Sunkeys.
Yes, I was going to make a motion that we review and approve the proposed language. The board, additionally, I'm assuming this is the language from the page 91 in the board book. Additionally, the board should direct staff to proceed with the pre-approval process for the regulations with authority to make non-substantive changes. And if there are no substantive changes, staff would additionally be directed to submit the regulations package to the Office of Administrative Law.
Okay, thank you for that motion. And you did say with the additional edits that were verbally given, correct?
I would incorporate that into this motion. Correct.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Could we get a board member to second this motion? I see Board Member Lazinski. Okay, if you could unmute yourself so we can hear your second.
I second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I don't see any hands raised. So now I will turn to for public comments, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A panel. The question and answer panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see this feature, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom lower middle of your screen or click on the 3 dots.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, there aren't any public comments, so I'll put it back before the board. So the motion has been made, seconded, and I just want to highlight to folks that Board Member Sunkeys did add language as amended by Ms. Rogers verbally as well. So if we could please take a roll call vote on this item.
Thank you. Ms. Lisinski?
Yes.
Ms. Nocella?
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys?
Yes.
Ms. Hurt?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So our next item is exam fees. It's agenda item 12. Excuse me. Ms. Finner.
Currently, the board charges $25 for each of the 3 portions of the license exam, whether it's your initial exam or any additional reexamination. Our statute allows us to charge a maximum of $75 per exam portion. And raising that cost would help offset some of the fees that the board is using to administer the exam. The board had asked that this come back before it at a later agenda or at a later meeting, I'm sorry. And so I'm just bringing it back forward at the board's request.
Thank you for staying on top of that. Are there any initial thoughts by the board with regards to this? Questions, thoughts, comments? I know for myself, there are definitely good arguments in raising the fees for a better cost recovery, but I'm hard pressed to raise any fees in this current crisis and climate of unknowns for individuals. So I'd like to now move to public comment since I do not see any board members' hands raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've now opened up the question and answer panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please type that you would like to make a public comment in the lower bottom of your screen and send it to all panelists. And I do see that we have a public comment from Mike Hensley.
Okay.
Mike, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. And CCRA would like to thank Chairwoman Hurt for her recognition of the need to identify the needs of our population during the time of crisis. With that in mind, CCRA would also encourage the board to consider perhaps an increase, or excuse me, a gradual increase over time as opposed to a sudden increase to the full statutory limit. In addition to that, we would also encourage consideration of isolating the increase towards only the towards the skills portion, as opposed to both the skills and the written portion of the testing legs. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional public comments?
Yes, Charlotte Mathias would like to speak. So Charlotte, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to echo the comment just prior to this, that we don't need to be raising it so fast on students at this point. They've already paid a lot to get through schooling. I think that raising the rates on them right now is not the best way to get more court reporters out. Thanks.
Thank you. Additional public comments?
That was the end of public comments.
Thank you. So I'll bring it back before the board. Any thoughts or comments any would like to make on this item? Thank you, Board Member Sunkeys.
Yeah, I have a question. If for the online testing, what are the fees associated with that?
Ms. Finner?
They're basically pass-through fees. I guess what I'm saying is that the fees that we charge would by and large cover what the contract amount is. So we wouldn't be incurring the costs of the on-site. Does that make sense? Am I answering your question correctly?
No, I don't even know. I'm wondering, so if the fee is 25 currently, and we do the next test online, are we going to be out money if we were? Yeah, right. Because why raise it to if there's no, whatever you said, if we're not out any money, why would we raise it, particularly right now at least?
So when this was prepared, when the original item was proposed to the board, it actually came from the schools who felt that students were quote unquote shopping the test. For $25, I'll go and shop the test. It's no big deal. If I don't pass it, I don't really care. I just want to like preview it and see what it is. And so they thought perhaps if we raise the fee, the students would be more committed to passing the test and not just seeing what it's like. That was then, and now we have a different economic time right now, but timing wise, it's just back on the board for timing issues. It's not in contemplation of going online. It's at the time it was written, it was to help offset the cost of doing on-site administration.
And if I could ask, I mean, my comment about cost recovery, raising the cost of the exam is about administering the exam. And while we're not doing it in the next test, if there are tests following that we do, $25 doesn't even scratch the surface for how much the cost is on administering the exam. I think as a comparison, Texas written is $75 and their skill is like $125. But I will go back to my earlier comment that in light of what's happening right now, I think we should look at this again in the future, maybe in 6 months, but not take this up at this moment. I'd love to hear other board members' comments. Board Member O'Neill.
Yes, I agree with your assessment that we should bring this back down the line, but at this point, point in time on this day and with the surrounding circumstances, we should revisit this later.
Thank you. So anyone else, any ideas or comments? I would like to get a majority who's in support of delaying this at least for another 6 months. Board Member Sunkeys.
Yes, was Board Member O'Neill making a motion? If so, I'll second that motion.
Ms. Bond, do we need to make a motion for not taking this up now?
You could make a motion to table it. You could simply ask for public comment. Yeah, you might want to get input before delaying it.
Okay, we definitely just heard public comments.
I meant specifically on the issue of not addressing it now, but
tabling it. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, almost as though that were another motion, but arguably, like you said, with having collected public comments, that's arguably met.
Okay, thank you. Ms. O'Neill, you still have your hand up. Would you like to?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that this be tabled to the next Court Reporters Board meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Can we get a second, please? Board Member Sunkeys. You can unmute yourself so we can get a verbal second.
That's a second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? I don't see any hands raised. Tony, your hand's raised, but I'm assuming you just haven't put it down. Okay. I'll move to public comment on the motion. Are there any public comments on this motion to table?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the question and answer feature. The question and answer feature is now available. If you would like to make a public comment, please type I would like to make a public comment in the ask field and send it to all panelists. If you do not see the question, click on the question mark within a square in the lower bottom middle of your screen, or click on the 3 dots.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, so I'll bring it back before the board. Ms. Bruning, could you please do a roll call vote?
Yes, Ms. Lisinski,
Yes.
Ms. Nocella,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys,
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item 13. This is the strategic plan. Ms. Spinner?
So beginning with agenda item 13.1, the board has been receiving reports of attorneys that are using alternate methods of reporting the official record. The staff has been working with the Office of Public Affairs to create an educational piece that we would be able to put on our website and distribute to litigants and attorneys on the advantages of using a CSR. The very first draft is before you, starting on page, it is on page 120. And we are basically looking for input from the board, input from the public before we make steps to finalize it and have it go through the approval process through legal and up the chain, so to speak.
Thank you very much. Are there any board member comments on this document? 5 reasons for choosing a licensed court reporter. I would just make one suggestion. I don't see any hands up, but I know as a consumer, I would appreciate headings under the 5 bullet points, just short, brief headings. Not everyone is going to go into reading the entire document, and any kind of visual breakup I think would be great. So just 5 blurbs heading out would be an easy, quick way for consumers to see why it's important to choose a licensed court reporter. Any other additional comments by the board? I don't see any hands raised, so I will move to public comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am opening up the Q&A feature. The question and answer feature is now available. If you'd like to make a public comment, please type in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. I am seeing many public comments coming in. So let me go back so I can take them in order. All right, so we'll start with Heather Bautista. Heather, I will let you know when you've been unmuted.
Thank you. Welcome.
You've been unmuted.
Thank you. I have a quick question before I go into my comment. Will we have time to go through agenda item number 16?
I am trying my very best to get there.
Because I have something important to say that it could apply here and it could apply in at item number 16. I just don't want to be precluded from making those comments. So I request guidance from the board.
Well, we are edging up on our time. We are looking at 13.1 public comment. So if your public comment is in relation to that, let's take that now.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start by saying my name is Heather Batista. I'm a California Certified Shorthand Reporter, license number 11600. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and other certified shorthand reporters passionate about the protection of the stenographic record. It is distressing to me as a dues-paying licensee in California since January of 1998, with not one disciplinary action or mark on my license, to understand that the Court Reporters Board has taken the position that it has no jurisdiction or authority to take any action against unlicensed digital recorders or the venture capital firms who hire them when they present at a deposition to audio record or video record a proceeding. I'm upset at this bait and switch practice going on for these reasons, among others. There's not the requirement that they adhere to requirements of court reporting schools, licensing attestations, state exams, or any ethical constructs to follow. When I started on this journey 30 years ago, it took me 7 years to complete all the requirements of the curriculum. I was excited. I was
30
proud.
seconds.
Thank you. I will say, I pose these questions to you for your consideration. If all dues paying licensees currently working in the state of California's court reporters were to, in short order, cease payment of licensing fees, what would happen to the court reporters board? If I let my license lapse and were to show up at a deposition with a notary seal instead, would the court reporters board have to act against me? I say that by being complacent and allowing this practice of corporations that are not owned by certified shorthand reporters to continue, you should be ashamed. You should be invested in giving us the title protection we deserve. You should consider in earnest what would happen if we all do not pay our licensing fees and instead do our job as stenographers and leave you out of it. Thank you.
Okay, just let me add very quickly. So we are at agenda item 13.1, which is reviewing the 5 reasons for choosing a licensed court reporter. Since you already began, it is somewhat related, but it's not to this document, which is what we're taking public comments on. So could the next public item in relation to 13.1, we will get to 16, we're on our way there. So the faster we can get through these agenda items, the faster we can get to 16. Next public comments.
That would be from Kelly Shaneline. Kelly, you have been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Kelly Shaneline, CSR number 13476. I am speaking on behalf of myself and Protect Your Record Project. Today, we reiterate and emphasize our concerns regarding the rampant bait and switch practice that is happening in the court reporting profession. Certain court reporting firms and others are sending out notaries public to depositions and court proceedings, instructing them to call themselves court reporters. Protect Your Record Project asserts that this is fraud. As the Court Reporters Board of California, Protect Your Record Project believes it is absolutely your duty as the board mandated to oversee the court reporting profession to appropriately and swiftly handle all complaints filed regarding notaries public representing themselves as court reporters. As such, we request.
Okay, so once again, we are at agenda item 13.1, which is a discussion and possible action on the consumer protection publication regarding advantages of using certified shorthand reporters. I hear everybody's passion about wanting to speak on item 16, which are public comments for items not on the agenda. But we are again at 13.1, which is 5 reasons for choosing a licensed court reporter publication. Ms. Bond, if you could just answer quickly, if we continue where public comment is speaking to items that are not related to 13.1, what is the procedure?
You can continue to accept any public comments being offered at this time. And then you can wrap up the discussion on this item when there are no more comments being offered.
Okay, so then I will now move on to the next public comment as it relates to item 13.1.
All right, the next public comment is from Kimberly Durso. Kimberly, you've been unmuted.
Hi there. I just wanted to get clarification before I speak, Madam Chair. So we are going to be allowed to speak on 16, correct?
Yes, as I stated, I'm trying my best to keep a quorum and go through the agenda item. The faster we get through agenda item 13, 14, 15, we can get to 16 for you to respond.
Okay,
so if
great.
you have any public comments on this item, I didn't see any board members, so we can really move on. But
I do have a quick comment on 13.
On 13.1, the publication, yes. If you do, absolutely, please give it.
Okay, and thank you, Madam Chair and Board, and I respectfully thank you for the work that you're going to be doing on that publication, but respectfully, it's too late. With this going on in the field right now, what we really need, like you're doing with the COVID warning on your site, is we need a warning to consumers on the court reporter website regarding the bait and switch scheme, not waiting for as long as you've said it takes the speed of government to go. We need that, and we also need cease and desist letters to offending notaries and companies that are doing this practice and not waiting for the time it's going to take for you to accomplish this task, even though we appreciate the effort. Thank you.
Okay, next public comment as it relates to 13.1, the publication. If
that would be Harry Poulter. Harry, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I have a comment that's 2 minutes long, but I don't want to be cut off like Kelly was cut off, so I'm going to wait till 16. I think that Kelly's comment and everybody else's comment, and then Kelly was cut off, I think that hers was totally on point, and I believe mine is too, but I will wait. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It seems like the public is realizing that many of their comments are for item 16. And so we can get there. I would suggest that if your comment is related to that, let's wait for that item and let's get through agenda item 13 to begin with. So we are at 13.1, the publication that's before us, a draft. Are there any other public comments on there?
There are several. Charlotte, Matthias. Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, I said I'd go on 16 after you cut the first person off. So I'm under 16. Thank you.
All right,
thank you. Next public comment?
That would be Cindy Gebby. Cindy, you've been unmuted.
Hi, I realize my comment is also regarding 16. I do have a comment that both times we've asked if we're getting to number 16. Madam Chairperson has said she's trying her best. That's not a yes. So is it yes, we're staying until we get to 16? Thank you.
So my answer is very clear. We're on item 13.1. If you have public comments to the draft, I am very happy to hear them. Next public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am looking through people in our box. And it looks like we have taken care of everyone because the rest are deferring to 16.
Thank you very much. All right, we've heard relevant public comments to the draft. I've given my suggestion, and now I'll turn to the board. Thank you, Ms. Bruning, you have your hand up.
There was one more comment that said it was specific to 13. We could revisit that quickly, please.
Sure, thank you very much. 13.1, public comment on the publication.
Thank you. This is the moderator, and I'm going back through our queue for question and answers. And I do see, yes, Jennifer Escoville. So Jennifer, I will let you know when you've been unmuted.
Thank you, Jennifer. With relation to the publication, if you could give your comment, please.
Yes, thank you for your time. I just wanted to quickly point out when reading item number 4, it brought me back to a few years ago when I was at a CCRA boot camp and the subject of a voluntary oath was brought up. I do believe it was a relatively novel idea at the time, and it was informal, and you were sort of given the option. I'm just curious to know if the CRB has revisited that at any point to sort of solidify or reaffirm the dedication of a licensed court reporter to the verbatim accurate transcript that they produce.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any additional comments to 13.1?
This is the moderator. I do not see any at this time.
Okay, board members, if we are now returned to 13.1, the staff recommends the board review the proposed publication, provide feedback, and the staff recommends the board solicits public input. We've done so, and so I don't see any other hands, so I will move on to agenda item 13.2, which is the discussion and possible action on next meeting of best practices task force. Ms. Spinner?
Sorry, technical difficulties there. 13.2, if you, the board is in a position right now to reconstitute the best practice task force. It would be best if we would get a chair. Interested people could email Paula or myself. Anybody that has topics could email those in to Paula or myself. And then the chair, as with the other ones, the chair would pick their committee members. These would be virtual meetings. I believe we could get a lot of court reporter input on these because of the lack of depositions that are going forward right now and even the court closures. So we might have this tiny window of opportunity where we could get some nice practice pieces out.
Okay, thank you. I think originally when we did the first best practice task force, we invited and people put forward their names, public members, and we really had difficulty in scheduling everybody. So I would suggest that after picking the chair, and I'll say this to the chair directly, whoever that may be, that you pick a date, and those who can participate via Zoom or WebEx just do so that you can get on this very quickly and achieve participation very soon. Are there any board members who would like to chair this best practices task force? Yes. So board member O'Neill.
I was really tempted to hold out and see how long it would take, but I'm going to chair this, the best practices.
Excellent. With the best practices, I believe we had 2 board members. Yvonne, you can correct me. Was it myself and Lazinski last time? Do we need another? Oh.
No, it was just you, Davina. So we only needed 1 chair. We don't have to have 2.
Good. All right. So I also see board member Sunkey's hand raised. Board member Sunkey's, yes?
I was going to offer my assistance. I'm new to the board, so it would be good to see how things are run. So I'd offer my assistance.
Okay, board member O'Neill, you've heard that board member Sunkeys is willing to support you and assist.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. All right. So I think, do we need to, I think we should make a motion.
No.
No? Okay.
No, we don't need a motion. The chair appoints and off you go.
Perfect.
The task force is in existence.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay. So I'll move then to 13.3.
On page 121 is the action plan that comes before the board at each meeting. It's what we've done, our target dates, and we always like to offer to the board members if they have other priorities that they would like to see with the board's resources to please give us some feedback and let us know. We can redirect.
Okay, board members, I just draw our attention that we have informed licensees regarding the role of the board's enforcement to dispel common misconceptions. That's December 2020. We also have up investigate real-time captioning standards and assess industry practices for consumer protection. That also is targeted for December 2020. And we just handled expanding best practice pointers to keep licensees up to date with industry standards. Yvonne, could you respond to the captioning and the informed licensees, where we are, the status?
We have not touched it.
Okay. All right, are there any board member comments on the action plan timeline? Okay. Okay, let me then move to public comments on the 3.3 update on action plan, as well as the 13.2 best practices task force. Do we have any public comments on those two items?
All right, I have opened up the Q&A panel for questions. If you would like to make a public comment on this particular agenda item, please type that you would like to make a comment in the ask field and send it to all panelists. And it looks like we have one from Kimberly Dorzo. So Kimberly, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Kimberly, you have been unmuted.
Oh, thank you so much. The Protect Your Record project, Kimberly Dearso and Kelly Shaneline offer to help with the best practice task force.
Okay, thank you very much. Please send your offer to help to Ms. Bruning, please, or Ms. Finner. Thank you. Next public comment?
That was the end of public comments.
Thank you very much. So I then believe we can move on to agenda item number 14, which is the RSR certification as exam eligibility.
So the board has received a request to use NCRA's newest certification of RSR as a basis to be eligible to take the CSR exam. So it's the same format in that there are 3 5-minute tests at 95% accuracy, but the words per minute that they are administered are slower than the RPR. The board, during their last sunset review, asked the legislature for a technical cleanup. We had language in the exam eligibility section that said that we would allow RPR or any other NCRA certification to be eligible to take our license exam. Because the RPR at that time was the initial, you had to have the RPR to get any of the other certifications. We just asked them to clean that up and just say, we'll take NCRA certifications. Since that time, yeah, and the legislature gracefully, we're grateful that they did that for us. But then after that, NCRA developed and rolled out this lower certification. So the board would need to decide if they will take this lower certification as eligibility for the exam, or if we should go forward with a regulatory package making it clear that when we say NCRA certification, the minimum is the RPR.
Okay, so so how new is this RSR? Is it like 2019 new? Ms. Finner?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It's very new. It's not, I mean, it's maybe within a year or 18 months. I don't have the exact date, but it was after the sunset review bill was passed.
Okay, I see board member Sunkeys with her hand raised. Do you have a question or comment at this time?
I have a comment, and that would be, currently we've got plenty of test takers. I don't think there's been an issue at all with people qualifying to take the test. Of course, it's getting them to pass is the issue. I don't know that we necessarily want to lower the standard to get people to be able to sit for the test. So the bottom line is I don't think this is a good idea.
Okay, thank you, board member Sunkeys. Board member O'Neill.
Thank you. I agree with Robin. Up to this point, the RPR was just was a qualifier test. It was either you qualify through a school or you qualify among other ways, but mostly by the RPR, and with the idea that the RPR was pretty much equivalent with the CR exam. And in reading the description of the RSR certification. I would tend not to deem that as a qualifier for the test. And then, of course, maybe we should, I don't want to say table this, but take this and put it into when we have the task force about, are we going to, use the RPR in lieu of the CSR? I think those all seem to be connected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Finner, you have your hand raised.
We really can't wait to wrap this in with the task force. This is the way the law is written now. And unless you want to allow that to happen between now and whenever we would make another change, that would be a mistake.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Ms. O'Neill, you're unmuted. Would you like to speak further?
No, thank you.
Okay, I agree with some of the other board members with regards to this test or this possibility being so new. It doesn't seem vetted yet. And if they have a hard time qualifying, I don't see any way they could pass the test. And I really would not like to see that this test serve as like a test prep to pass it. We just have limited data, I feel, on whether persons passing the RSR could pass our tests if they can't pass the qualifier or if they can't qualify. I see Board Member Sunkey's hand raised.
Yeah, so we can kind of cut to the chase here and we can hopefully get as quickly as possible to item 16. I'd like to ask, are you looking, Yvonne, for a motion to accept the RPR standard? Because that's what you were originally working under before this RSR came out? Or is it just a matter of?
So if I could clarify, the staff recommends the board accept the minimum RPR standard, which means the board should move to adopt regulatory language to exclude the RSR from eligibility.
May I make a motion?
Absolutely. Well, let me make sure. Yeah, no one else has their hand raised to make a comment. I realize we are going to get to item 16, but we also have to make sure that all board members have time to express themselves. But yes, you may make a motion.
I move to adopt regulatory language to exclude the RSR from Business and Professions Code 8020C eligibility.
Okay, we have a motion. I see Board Member O'Neill, hands raised.
I would second that motion.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any further discussion by other board members? I do not see any hands. Could we take public comments on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm opening up the Q&A feature. The question and answer panel is now available. If you would like to make a public comment on agenda item 14, please type "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and then send it to all panelists. If you do not see this feature, click on the question mark within a square in the bottom middle of your screen or click on the three dots.
Thank you. Are there any public comments?
Yes, we have one right now, and it's from Heather Bautista. We have some others coming in. I will start with Heather. Heather, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Heather, you have been unmuted.
Thank you. I just want to echo the comments made by the board members, and I think that any move to lessening or lowering the qualifications needed in order to become a California Certified Shorthand Reporter should be it should not be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
That would be Anna Costa. Anna, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Anna, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. Are you hearing an echo?
Yes. Could you try to speak again? Let's see if it clears up.
All right. Is it better?
No, you might have two items linked to the meeting, and so there's feedback. Yes.
I agree with Heather about these.
If you could speak much louder so we can all hear you, it's very faint. No, actually, there's feedback, Ms. Costa. All right, we'll just, are there any more public comments? I'm going to come back to you and see if you can maybe work on that for a minute.
Yes, Lucy Carrillo Grubbs and Jennifer Esquivel. So Lucy's first. So Lucy, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Lucy, you've been unmuted.
Hi, I'm Lucy Carrillo Grubbs, and I agree with Heather and the board. We should not dummy this test down. That is ridiculous. That's what it seems like it's if you do the RSR. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment.
Next comment is Jennifer Esquivel. Jennifer, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Jennifer, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. I just wanted a point of clarification. I understand the perspective of lowering the standards to qualify for the CSR. However, I wanted to point out if the RPR serves as an eligible exam to sit at 225 words a minute for 2 voice, is the leg we're standing on in opposition to the RSR because the 200 words a minute is 2 voice and not 4 voice? Because my concern is that would be the only difference between the RPR and the RSR, especially given that the CSR we sit for here in California does not exceed 200 words per minute, but is not necessarily consistent at 200 words per minute. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comments. Could we go back to Ms. Fatima?
Yes, and we had a public offer of help to her saying that if she's logged in with 2 devices, she needs to she has to turn the phone off or turn off the computer. You can't have audio on both turned on.
Yes.
So Anna, I will let you know you've now been unmuted, Anna. And now I'm seeing no microphone at all.
Okay, I'm just going to see if we can give her a few seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
And Anna, if at all you... Oh.
I'm sorry, Ms. Costa, there's a lot of feedback. Could you try one more time? Let's see if we can hear you. Otherwise, I think we're going to have to move on. Ms. Costa? Okay, now I don't hear anything at all. Let's now move back to the board if there are no further public comments.
There are no further public comments.
Thank you. Ms. Costa, it sounds like you're moving. Can you speak now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly now. Could you please make your public comments on this item? Oh, unfortunately, I can't hear you anymore.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your patience. I agree with the previous speakers, and that as a trainer of core reporting students, I've seen a lot of inconsistency in their writing. I read the thousands of their transcripts. And the last thing we want to do is, as Lucy said is done down the CSR. If we're requiring, assuming we go forward, to access CSRs to have an RMR or CR, then we should not, absolutely not, lower the standards to incoming new reporters. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comments. If there are no other public comments, we'll bring it back to the board.
There are no other public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Board Member Sunkeys and a second by Board Member O'Neill. I don't see any hands raised for further discussion. We've taken public comments. Ms. Bruning, could you please do a roll call vote?
Thank you, Ms. Lisinski.
Yes.
Ms. Nocella.
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Ms. Sunkeys.
Yes.
Ms. Hurt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So now we move to agenda item 15, future meeting dates. Ms. Finner, since we do have a new board member, could you just quickly let her know how we normally do this?
Yes. In an effort to be running as efficiently as possible, we hold our meetings when we need the board to vote on something for the staff to continue moving a particular project forward. So with the votes that you have today, we will move forward on all of those tasks. I would expect that we would meet again sometime in the fall. And when we get to the point where we have items for the agenda that need a vote, then we will poll the board members and set that meeting.
Okay, any questions by the board members? All right, seeing no hands raised. We don't need public comments on this, do we? I don't believe so. So now I'll move to agenda item 16, which are public comments for items not on the agenda. We can now get to that since we've gone through the other items. I want to remind everybody that the board may not discuss or take any action on any item raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting per Government Code Section 11125, 11125.7a. So we will listen very closely, take notes of people's comments, but we will not be able to respond. All right, Ms. Bond, did I say that correctly?
You can go ahead on that note. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now let's move to public comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I already have the question and answer panel open, so we already have some people that have typed comments in, and for those who would like to make a public comment and have not sent in that request yet, just type, I would like to make a public comment in the ask field and send it to all panelists. Our first person on the list is Harry Poulter. Harry, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Harry, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. I promise this will be 2 minutes. Harry Poulter, CSR number 7708. As I remember hearing Madam Chair upon the opening this morning early, that the board cares very, very much about our comments. So thanks very much for allowing us to speak to you this afternoon. All of you here, except for Yvonne, don't know me personally, but I do work a lot with the CSR board, CRB, excuse me, as a subject matter expert and proctor. When I was licensed over 30 years ago, I received a certificate that I hang very proudly on my wall in my office, which was issued by the Certified Shorthand Reporters Board. But it seems like just about everybody is calling themselves a court reporter lately, licensed or not, and that is extremely concerning to all of the licensed certified shorthand reporters on this call. Even at my last remote deposition, an attorney asked me before the deposition whether I was a real stenographic reporter or a tape recorder type of person just pressing a button. I'm glad that the board spends the resources it does on testing to ensure the protection of the public. But if everybody is going to go out there and call themselves a court reporter, what's the point of even having a license if someone with a notary can simply walk into a deposition with their equipment, perhaps even a stenographic writer as a prop, perhaps somebody like Valerie Wu, if you decide not to reinstate her license, and tell the attorney they're a court reporter, swear in the witness, and then push a button and go ahead and record this deposition. No one's the wiser, I guess. Plus, that transcript quite possibly could be transcribed somewhere around the globe by someone who obviously didn't even attend the proceeding. That's obviously fraught with HIPAA issues and possibly even criminal background issues. We all know the mission of the CRB is to protect the public by ensuring the integrity of the judicial record by maintaining the standard of competency through their oversight of our wonderful
30
profession.
seconds.
I invite review of strategic goal number 2 from the strategic plan, but simply put, the phrase court reporter used by others who are not certified is just plain wrong and perhaps causes harm to California consumers. An attorney or consumer who orders a court reporter in California expects that they are getting a certified shorthand reporter and not a digital recorder. Some attorneys have even told me they're literally shocked when a digital recorder arrives for their matter. Sounds like we need to follow Texas's lead more. In closing, I assure you that all of my colleagues on this call share the same sentiments I've just expressed to you, and we all are highly committed to this profession. Thank you very much.
Next public comment.
Heather, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'll repeat. My name is Heather Batista, California Certified Shorthand Reporter, license number 11600. It's distressing to me as a dues-paying licensee in California since January of 1998 that the Court Reporters Board has taken the position that it has no jurisdiction or authority to take any action against unlicensed digital recorders or the venture capital firms who hire them when they present at a deposition to audio record or video record a proceeding. You, as our board, should honor the commitment we have made to the consumers of California to be professional, fair, and competent always. You, as our board, should honor the commitment you have made by accepting, especially after raising our licensing fees. You are well aware of your mission statement. You are well aware of BMP Code Section 8018. You have an obligation to every consumer in California, certified shorthand reporters included, to oversee the court reporting profession. You are letting us down by remaining silent and inactive against those who have bottomless pockets and are charging astronomical, unconscionable amounts to those law firms who are also consumers, by the way, by sending a notary public to administer an oath, record the proceedings, and thereafter submit those recordings to someone with no obligation to keep private information private. I pose these questions to you for your consideration. If all dues-paying licensees currently working in the state of California as court reporters were to, in short order, cease payment of the licensing fees, what would happen to the Court Reporters Board? If I let my license lapse and were to show up at a deposition so that I may swear in a witness and report the proceedings stenographically, what jurisdiction or authorization would the Court Reporters Board have to act against me? I would propose these answers. The Court Reporters Board would disintegrate, and you could do nothing to me for being a stenographer and appearing at depositions. You should be invested in giving us title protection, and you should consider in earnest what would happen if we all do not pay our licensing fees and instead do our job as stenographers and leave you out of it. Thank you.
Next public comment.
Next public comment is from Kimberly Dearzo. Kimberly, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Kimberly, you're unmuted.
I have a question. Is it possible for me to trade places with Kelly Shainline if she's in line?
You cannot make a comment now and get back in the queue.
Okay, then I'll go ahead. Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. My name is Kimberly Dearzo, CSR 11372. I speak for myself and the Protect Your Record Project. The Court Reporters Board of California takes the position that it lacks jurisdiction over others calling themselves court reporters and will only act if the person calls themselves a certified shorthand reporter. This is flagrantly contradictory to the board's own historical statements and publications, which causes ambiguity and potential harm to unwitting consumers. This very board in 1994, with intention, renamed itself the Court Reporters Board of California. Please be reminded of your own mission statement. The mission of the Court Reporters Board is to protect the public by ensuring the integrity of the judicial record and maintaining the standard of competency through oversight of the court reporting profession. Per Business and Professions Code 8018, no other person, firm, or corporation may use any words or symbols indicating or tending to indicate that he, she, or it is certified under this chapter. We believe the words court reporter unequivocally fall within this code. Undoubtedly, when a consumer hires a court reporter, they expect to receive a licensed CSR. The Court Reporters Board website and publications are replete with the words court reporter, indicating or tending to indicate it is referring to a licensed shorthand reporter. Consumer and Managing a Part
30 seconds.
Alex Hernandez wrote, when I ask for the services of court reporter, I expect exactly that, a shorthand reporter certified by the state of California. I would be surprised and unhappy if a digital reporter showed up instead. Transcripts are vital to my work and, more importantly, to the adjudication of civil cases. Consequently, it is imperative that a professional CSR be responsible for the transcript and its accuracy. If I cannot be confident in the accuracy of a transcript, then there.
I'm sorry, the 2 minutes were up. The next person is Kelly Shaneline. Kelly, you've been unmuted.
Hi, my name is Kelly Shaneline, CSR number 13476. I am speaking on behalf of myself and Protect Your Record Project. Today, we reiterate and emphasize our concerns regarding the rampant bait and switch practice that is happening in the court reporting profession. Certain court reporting firms and others are sending out notaries public to depositions and court proceedings, instructing them to call themselves court reporters. Protect Your Record Project asserts that this is fraud. As the Court Reporters Board of California, Protect Your Record Project believes it is absolutely your duty, as the board mandated to oversee the court reporting profession, to appropriately and swiftly handle all complaints filed regarding notaries public representing themselves as court reporters. As such, we request that the CRB send cease and desist letters to the offending notaries and companies, and that an immediate warning be posted on the Court Reporters Board website regarding this bait and switch scheme. Business and Professions Code 8018 in part states, no other person, firm, or corporation may assume or use the title Certified Shorthand Reporter or the abbreviation CSR, or use any words or symbols indicating or tending to indicate that he, she, or it is certified under this chapter. We believe the words court reporter unequivocally fall within this code. When a consumer hires a court reporter, they expect to receive a licensed certified shorthand reporter. The Court Reporters Board's website and publications are replete with the words court reporter, indicating or tending to indicate it is referring to a licensed certified shorthand reporter. Here is one quote from the Court Reporters Board
30 seconds.
Court Reporters Board 2018-2019 Sunset Review Report. Since 1951, the Court Reporters Board of California has been overseeing the practice of court reporting, largely through licensing and enforcement. Today, there are approximately 6,500 active licensed court reporters in California. Thank you for your time.
Our next person is Cindy Gebbe. Cindy, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Cindy, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I have my timer going also. My name is Cindy Gebbe, California CSR 10,691. My comment is regarding digital reporters who are taking jobs in California while posing as a CSR. When I called the California Contractor State License Board and asked them if someone is holding themselves out as a contractor, but they do not hold a license, would you go after that person to protect the public? They said yes, they would. When I called the Medical Board of California and asked them if someone is holding themselves out as a medical doctor and is practicing medicine without a license, would you go after that person to protect the public? They said yes, they would. Yet when someone asks the Court Reporters Board of California if they will go after someone who is presenting themselves to the public as a court reporter, the board says they have no jurisdiction. One of the reasons given is that the person would have to say they are a, quote, certified shorthand reporter, unquote. This is absurd. The words court reporter are literally in the name of this board. If your mission is to protect the public, how are you able to say you are actually doing so when you won't go after those fake reporters who are practicing outside of the laws of the state of California. Your inaction is putting the public at grave risk. This board is very meticulous, even in today's proceedings, regarding the actions of CSRs while completely ignoring the digital invasion that is occurring here in California. If you will not go after anyone who is unlicensed, then what possible incentive do we currently license? Then what possible incentive do we currently licensed CSRs have to continue following all of the board's rules and to continue maintaining our licensure with you? As I see it, we have none. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I will move on to the next person in the queue who has not yet spoken. We will turn around and come back to people who have asked to make a second public comment. The next speaker will be Sigal Shakar. Sigal, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. And Sigal, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for giving me time to speak today. This is not related to what everyone else has been commenting on. So my name is Sigal Shachar, and I would like to ask you to please put my case on your agenda for discussion at the next meeting. I started my court reporting training in Los Angeles and Bryan University in January 2009 and graduated in July 2016. At that time, I took and passed the English and professional practice portions right away and have taken every machine exam since I qualified, always getting very close but not passing. On the November 2019 CSR, I came the closest I ever have by being just 3 points over the error limit. After my appeal, I was given back 2 points, which left me with a score of 51, just 1 point over the limit. 1 point to end my 10 long years of training in a field I will be an asset to, one that is in great need for well-trained reporters, and I believe I am one. 1 point blocking me from providing for my family of 4 children after having to rely on my parents for so many years for full financial support because I've gone through my reporting training as a single mother. I understand and agree to the demand for perfection and accuracy in reporting, and I'm not asking the board to break any rules for me. What I am asking the board to do is to please reevaluate a single error that I believe has a strong basis for being correct and give me back 1 more point based on the evidence I have that shows there is generous room for accuracy in the words I chose in that particular sentence. In addition, I have a letter from my English teacher from Bryan University.
30 seconds.
Attesting to the fact that I did exactly as I was taught in school, a school whose program is accepted by the board. Thank you very much for your time. That's all.
For your public comment. Next public comment.
And that would be from Francine. And again, Kimberly, we'll take people who've not yet spoken and come back around to you. So Francine, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Francine, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you for letting me address the board. My name is Francine Dice. I'm a California licensed court reporter, number 8855. As I said previously, I'm also licensed in the states of Texas and Oklahoma. I'd like to say I support what all of the public speakers ahead of me have said regarding reporters who are not certified shorthand reporters showing up using audio and/or audio-video equipment to record. My next statement is very important, and I hope the board listens to me very attentively. I have seen transcripts that are only 21 lines a page, and the settings in the width are such that it is 1.5 inches left per line, which almost doubles the transcript length. A 150-page transcript set as per the California board standard pays me for 150 pages, but pays an audio-video person nearly 300 pages. This is not protecting the consumers, and it's definitely not protecting court reporters who are also consumers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next public comment.
That would be Charlotte Mathias. Charlotte, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Charlotte, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Charlotte Mathias, CSR 9792, and an RPR and a concerned citizen of the state of California. On February 20th, 2020, 4 members of the Protect Your Record Project requested the Court Reporters Board to put the issue of digital court reporters representing themselves as court reporters on the agenda of the next CRB meeting. The CRB declined our request, stating that the issue was not under the CRB's jurisdiction. I have spoken with the Attorney General's office and inquired who would have jurisdiction over a non-CSR calling themselves a court reporter, and was told that the CRB would have jurisdiction over unlicensed court reporting activity, and that the AG's office would refer any complaints about unlicensed court reporters to the CRB. The Court Reporters Board owns website is filled with the term court reporter. The Court Reporters Board's 5 reasons educational document says under Section 1, a court reporter. Under Section 4, the accuracy of the court reporter. This past Tuesday, I was doing a job search for court reporting jobs via Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, GovernmentJob.com, and CaliforniaJobbing.com. Many job listings caught my eye. The Superior Courts of Placer, San Mateo, San Joaquin, San Francisco, Orange, Riverside, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Bernardino, Santa Clara, Alameda, Kern, Contra Costa, Imperial, Stanislaus, Tulare, Fresno counties were all hiring court reporters. Not certified shorthand reporters, court reporters. Even our superior courts in California have websites with job descriptions for court reporters and how attorneys can contact the court reporter. I am once again requesting this item of digital court reporters be put on the agenda for the next CRB meeting so that we may have a full and thoughtful discussion on how this activity is harmful to the consumer and how to address it. In a recent meeting with William Downs, Notary Program Administrator of the Secretary of State's office, he stated he would attend such a meeting at the CRB if this subject was put on the agenda. Thank you.
The next speaker is Karen Guevara. Karen, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Karen, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, I would like to, listening to Sigal Shahar, I need to add into my comments that I fully support her. She is tenacious, and in our line of work, tenacious is what you need to be. And so I would please request that you give her plea consideration. Now on to the digital reporters. I know that there are people who would like to see us gone. There are judges, there are attorneys, and now what are we calling them? Venture capitalist agencies who would love for us not to be making money anymore. Why? Because we're predominantly women. And why do they hate us? Because we're making money, and sometimes more than they do. And so they would love to be able to get a cut of our hard work, our hard labor, by sending out people with the tape recorder and telling them that they're us when they're not. And so, as Charlotte said, I too have called the Attorney General, I've called the Judicial Council, I've called the Presiding Judge's office in San Diego, I visited them personally, and I called the general line of the Department of Consumer Affairs. All of them told me that it would be your job to take care of policing the situation, and they really cannot fathom and cannot understand why you're telling us that it's not your job. And honestly, what I said before, we're getting killed because
30 seconds.
They're killing our careers, and you may not have 4 more years on the board because you won't have stenography as a career anymore for you to take care of licensing over and administer over us. So it'll be a really sad day, but if nothing is done, that's what's going to happen. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kim Kuzoria. Kim, I will let you know when you've been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Kim Kuzora, Certified Shorthand Reporter 8509. I would like to request that the Court Reporters Board put on the next meeting agenda the digital recorder issue and digital recorders using the title Court Reporter at depositions and on deposition transcripts. It is the consensus amongst attorneys I've spoken with that the use of the title Court Reporter would fall within Business and Profession Code 8018 under the last sentence in the code that states, quote, or use any words or symbols indicating or tending to indicate that he, she, or it is certified under this chapter, end quote. I have a letter addressed to the board to read from an attorney regarding digital recorders, but it is over 2 minutes. I will email my statement with the attorney's letter to the board and ask it be included in today's minutes as part of my statement. Thank you.
All right, our next public comment is from Summer Jimenez. Summer, I will let you know when you have been unmuted. Summer, you've been unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Hear you.
CSR 12917. I just want to say that I think it's insane that punishments are being handed down to actual reporters for not turning in their transcripts in a timely manner, when a digital recorder can just walk into a deposition and take down testimony. They're not writing, they're pushing buttons. I'm writing. I'm the stenographer, I'm the court reporter, I'm the certified shorthand reporter, not them. So I have a question too that's not going to be answered is, who's protecting us? Who is going to protect us? Who is going to protect the stenographer? And I think a human factor is essential for an accurate record. Thank you.
And we have Kimberly Durso would like to make a further comment.
Okay.
Kimberly, you've been unmuted.
Thank you very much. And I want to piggyback on Summer's comment that your job is to protect the consumers. And I've heard your attorney say that they're able to, quote, interpret according to your Practice Act. And I would really like to be proud of you, board. I'd like to see you interpret Code 8018, where it says that no other person, firm, or corporation may use any words or symbols indicating or tending to indicate that he, she, or it is certified under this chapter. Court reporter is unequivocally our term in the field. We should have title protection. We want to support you. We want you to protect consumers and to use your authority to interpret this specific code section in 8018 that court reporter equates to CSR, just like it is replete in all of your publications and your own mission statement. Thank you very much.
All right, and we have Sigal Shakar wanting to make a further comment. Sigal, I'll let you know when you've been unmuted. Sigal, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you so much. No, that was a mistake. I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any additional public comments?
We have Heather Bautista. So Heather, I will let you know when you've been unmuted. Heather, you've been unmuted.
Thank you. I'll make this quick. I just want to say that I think it's disingenuous for the board to say that it is too costly to go after these venture capital firms who have no business operating in California under BNP 8018, but yet you have the money to go after certified shorthand reporters when a transcript isn't turned in. So that was just an additional comment. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am scrolling through our Q&A to make sure we haven't missed anyone. And I have other people looking as well. I don't believe we have anyone else, but I'm also waiting on my co-moderator to see if perhaps I've missed someone.
Hello, I think we're good.
Thank you, co-moderator. So, Madam Chair, we are finished with public comment.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I want to thank our moderators. I'd like to thank all those who were involved in putting together this online board meeting. I'd like to also thank the public for all their comments. We hear your passion, and we thank you for putting them before everyone, what is important to you. And I want to thank the board. This has been a long day. I know we've been on the call since 8:30. We went through a license item that for many hours, very passionate about trying to help folks. And so I appreciate you all sticking in and going through this whole day. We are now at adjournment at 5:38, unless there is any, I don't see any hands raised by the board. So I believe we're at a place where we can do meeting adjourned.